Thank you for tuning in into the First District News that you can use. I'm your host, and my name is OS Owens, and today we have the Honorable Jonathan L. Jackson, Congressman of the First District of Illinois. Welcome, Congressman Jackson. How are you?
Wonderful. Great to see you, my dear friend, Brother Othell.
So glad that you could join us. You've just been sworn in only 12 days on the 7th, and you've hit the ground running. Phenomenal.
Well, we have a lot to do. The First District needs a lot of help, and there was quite an adventuresome ride from January 3rd through January 7th for the swearing-in date. And
a lot of fun there, huh?
I had a lot of fun. I certainly did.
Yeah.
Well, what I would say is that there's been a longer period of time in history, 113 sessions, where they weren't able to get a speaker. So this was not unprecedented for it to be 15 rounds. So they've had it for a month in history. So it just goes to show you the fracture in the nation that we're dealing with now. So this is not unprecedented.
Oh, didn't know that. Well, let's get into it now. The first congressional district. There's actually 12 automatic wards, 17 municipalities in the state of Illinois. The district area south of 95th Street is west of Interstate 57 and includes the municipalities of Homer Glen, Tinley Park, Frankfort, Kankakee, Braidwood, Mokina, Alsip, Wilmington, Orland Park, Lockport, Robbins, Crestwood, Markham, Posen, Calumet Park, Blue Island, and Bourbonnais. How do you do that?
It's a very diverse district, I would say, that we have to deal with the heart of the inner city, have to deal with the issues that are affecting us from the lack of resources, employment is a major issue, gun violence, fentanyl, and these are the same issues that are in the suburbs as well. So they actually have more in common than they would have in contrast. The second part I would tell you is that massive infrastructure is needed from Robbins and its water system, and not just in this geographical footprint, but looking at Harvey and other adjoining neighborhoods, all the way down to Dixmoor and all to Pembroke, which is just outside. So it's about cooperation. It's about the general region that we have to bring forward. And so this is a major piece in the puzzle, but all these interconnected communities need help. And to Robin Kelly in the 2nd District, to Mr. Brad Schneider, on to Sean, on the way to Representative Davis, Sean Castner, we're going to have to work with all these bordering districts as well. Okay.
Well, before I go further, what's the historical significance of the 1st District?
Well, it's a lot. So it's been under African American leadership since 1929, since Congressman Dupree all the way through Congressman Rush. And so it has been the hope, if you will, for millions of African Americans to get on the floor of the Congress. And why is it also significant? And since the Congress has been created in 1789, this is the 118th Congress we've just started. So through the 117th Congress, after 234 years, there have been 12,505 representatives to serve in the in the U.S. House of Representatives, and only 176 African Americans to date have had the right to vote. Currently, 62 members are in the Congress, so this is the highest number. And of the 176, 62 are in there to date. So most of the law, if you look at, is based upon precedents. So we've not had the opportunity to codify our relationships or have any influence on federal law. It's still just the beginning of the day for us to try to address and redress some historical wrongs, to make the economy and the nation stronger and make it more representative and inclusive for its future. So it's the 1st District gives us that opportunity to share in the forging of what should be the policy for urban America, for suburban America, and for rural America. This district covers the heart of the city urban, covers a large swath of the suburban, and it covers farmers and rural. So we're going to deal with all of those categories.
And the 1st District is the largest district, is that correct?
I don't know about that. So we're all equally populated with roughly 700,000 plus residents is how that moves around. But geographically, I wouldn't know. No, it couldn't be the largest because there are some that go on for 200 miles, 150 miles. This district is 60 miles from one end to the other. Some people have a much larger district.
So what was the purpose of rezoning the district?
Well, that's a great question. The rezoning happens every 10 years. First, you have the census, and the census says count everyone. Then it goes through reapportionment. The 435 members. States that have grown in population get more representatives. States that have shrunk in population lose representatives. The state of Illinois shrunk or did not grow as fast as other states, so we've lost a representative. And so therefore, you have to reconfigure around those 700,000 plus residents, and then it goes into the census, reapportionment, redistricting, and then that's where we go.
Well, that makes sense because we just had census done a little short time ago.
Yep.
Then immediately after that.
2020, then the year afterwards, they published the numbers, promulgate that, and then the following year they show you the remaps.
Oh, okay. Well, now, the representative, which is you, is responsible for helping their constituents understand how Congress and the rest of the government work. What are some of your duties?
Oh, wow. So
Do we have enough time?
we do. We have to bring resources back from Washington, D.C., and we also have to take our voice to Washington. So with this voting card, with this voting power, we're able to put our thoughts, our feelings, our needs on the agenda. We'll get to Washington. We're looking for resources coming from the Department of Transportation for infrastructure, looking for water, for resources coming from a return or repatriation of our capital back into our neighborhood. We're looking to clean up some of this minority vending paperwork. So regulations should be used to protect industry and protect people. It should not be used to lock people out. This minority paperwork has not been updated in almost 40 years. So the original intent of this minority paperwork was to help those that had received harm and damage by the government. So therefore, there was a set aside. This wasn't supposed to be a catch-all for all others and disadvantage African Americans.
So you said this has not taken place in 40 years?
It's not been updated, really, correct.
In 40 years?
Yeah.
May I ask a crazy question, and pray tell, why not?
I imagine some people that might not have had the thoughts. Others are happy with the current structure of it, but it's broken. And what I mean by not updated, they will change a margin, but there's not been a significant overhaul to deal with it. Now more people, diverse, minority, are stuck into the same smaller category when the pie should have expanded for the minority category, not try to squeeze more people into a smaller piece of the pie.
Okay, so you've just been sworn in on the 7th. You've been in office 12 days. So what's the 90-day look like? What do you have in store, and what can the constituents expect to happen in the first 90 days of your office?
I'd like to come back onto the program and share with you some of the job commitments I've gotten from people. I want to tie it down. I don't like to say what I'm about to do. I want to say what's already been done.
That makes sense.
So I want you to hear about these job commitments. I'm doing an assessment, talking to all the mayors in the surrounding neighborhoods. They know what they need better than I do. So I'm still going through meeting with them. We spent 2 weeks in Washington. Spent a half week in the district. Got to go back to Washington. So by the 1st of February, I look to engage and have met with all of the mayors over all the municipalities. Also, there are programs that the federal government has, that the Congress has, that are really cool that I've seen. In the Capitol, underneath the walkway, there's an arts program that the students that win in the arts program can actually get scholarships for their work. There's an apps program where students can be in a competition to build apps, and the government can give you resources. There's a lot of resources there. Also look forward to being very robust and bringing children to Washington so they get civically engaged. They can see how their government works.
Yes.
And I don't want them to have a feeling of hopelessness and being despondent because they don't think there's anything they can do. Now, it's an incredible system. I want the young people to feel empowered, and I want them to learn how to access our government.
I mean, I did a little nosing around, and there are a lot of things that are going on that we're just, as the constituents, not aware of. So as constituents, what can we do to help you bring these resources back?
Well, our offices are on 117th South on Western Avenue in the city. We're going to have a rolling set of meeting dates with other municipalities where we're going to take the office into the communities in those other municipalities. We're going to also look to have a CETA day to help people with their utilities and other programs. Look forward to having jobs fairs. So we've got a very robust program. These things will be further articulated in the next 90 days. So we're just getting in there. We just moved into 2 offices at the same time. We're looking forward to appropriations requests that go in for earmarks in March. That's in another 30 days after the February timetable. So it's like ready, set, go, but the train has already left the
Well, it's only been 12 days,
Right.
and you have a lot going on.
The Secretary of State comes tomorrow. We will greet him. There's funds that are coming in from the Inflation Reduction Act that we're proud that the Democrats have delivered into the district. So we'll be doing some ribbon cuttings and also fighting for increased strengthening in our voter registration. We have to make voting more accessible and not less accessible. That's the tool of empowerment. And I think if we get that out there and students and younger people, I'm glad to see my young friend Maxwell Frost to be the first person from Generation Z to come into the Congress at 25 years of age. I want more young people to also feel as if they have a stake in the system and become vested. So that's going to be something I'm going to ask you and other people. This is a problem we have to fix top down. Top down, not saying this is what the children have to do. This is what grandparents need to do with their grandchildren and great-grandchildren. We've got to get voting to become a family value.
That's right.
Education has to be a family value, and voting. Families that vote together, they may not always agree, but they stay together so they can be politically informed.
And I agree that we need to, get our young students to the Hill to see our government in action, to encourage them to participate, and why it's important for them to participate and not just say, oh, my voice doesn't count. And I ran across several generations of young people and people my age, and they feel that their vote just doesn't count. And I had to remind them that elections are not won by those who vote. They're won and lost by those who don't vote. So we have to do a better job of encouraging our young. I like what you're saying about getting our folks to Capitol. I nosed around. I saw some opportunities there that I didn't know had existed. And I'm very pleased that you are bringing these opportunities to our communities because you're aware of them. And how did you find out? I mean, we couldn't find out. How did you find out?
Because you voted for me to go to Washington, so I'm just learning about it. So now I'm hurrying back home to bring these resources and these programs that I found out back to the district, so many more teachers and churches and civic and businessmen and women can also participate.
So we're on a fact-finding mission, folks. Not just him, not just me, but you as well. We in the community need to reach out, have issues, have questions. We need to let the congressional office know what we're feeling, how we're feeling. The office is located at 11750 South Western Avenue, Chicago, Illinois. That phone number is 773-779-2400. You can go to the congressional website, which is jonathanjackson.housegov. We need to hear from you. We can't cover it all on our own. You voted for this individual. I voted for him. So now the real work begins, is where we roll up our sleeves and participate and support our congressman. We voted for him, and he's going to bring his resources back to us. However, we have a role to play as well. Now, as far as, congressmen, what do they do? They pass bills? Briefly explain to our viewing audience, the overall view of the Congress.
So, of course, there are 3 bodies of government: legislative, executive, and judicial. The courts interpret it as judicial. The House and the Senate pass the laws. The president ends up ratifying it. After it's ratified, he signs it. He's the executive. He has the power to enforce the law. So each one of these branches, but the votes and the laws come out of the Congress. You have to have a bill to come from the lower house to Congress to go through the Senate, and then that's where the framing of the law comes in. The executive can sign and then enforce the law. The courts can interpret it. So it's a nice harmonious system, as I would tell you. The other part is what the Congress does is they are your eyes and ears. They carry your voice, your vote to the floor of the Congress. And when you say voting doesn't count, we went through 15 rounds of voting. Why? Because McCarthy, Speaker of the House, Mr. McCarthy needed one vote to help him get over the top. So 14 times when they voted, the Honorable Hakeem Jeffries came up with 212. Mr. McCarthy came up with 110, with 102, with 202, 201, and then finally he had to change people in his delegations to vote for him, and ultimately he had 216 or 218 versus 212. Had we won 6 more congressional districts, would have had the Honorable Hakeem Jeffries to be Speaker of the House, and wouldn't be talking about all these investigative agencies and things that are now being applied for by the Republican hardliners.
So now, since we have a Republican hardliners in there, does that make your job a little harder?
I think so, and I think it could become harder on the American people. We're talking about this week, we're going to go back into Washington to look at the debt ceiling. Well, America has already written checks, and now they're coming due. And so if you say stop paying, don't cut off the credit card now, it throws the world and the economy into a great tailspin because you're not going to honor the bills that you said, but you're not going to honor the payments that you've already agreed to. So there's a way to balance a budget, but this is not the way to do it with draconian cuts, and taking off the head. And so that would be a shock to the system. Well, that's going on right now. And we've got to get back to Washington to figure out what that's going to look like. But that's what the Treasury is concerned about right now. That's what the markets are going to be concerned about. Will they hold us hostage over this debt ceiling limit, or what is the plan to negotiate to go forward?
From what I understand, the deadline is here.
That's part one, but there's a little bit of wiggle room.
Okay.
So you pass it, but it's not tipped over. They aren't rejecting payments yet.
And the payments that would be rejected would be what? Social Security, Veteran Affairs,
Foreign
Medicare,
debt.
Foreign debt. And that would definitely put us in
Then
a
you have to
standstill.
prioritize, well, if we're not going to be able to extend this, which bills are owed are we going to hold off on? Which bills are owed are we going to pay?
You're busy, and you're going to be busy. In your district, you have a huge population of senior citizens and veterans and of these things of that nature. They have so many issues. How we in the congressional office, how do we identify those things to bring to your attention so you can best address them? Because there's so much chatter in the communities, and I'm trying to get the pulse of the communities, and a lot of times folks just won't say what really is on their mind. They complain, but they won't say what the real issue is. What can we do in the community as constituents?
Let me tell you this here. We have to get people, I know that some people are frustrated, and for right reasons. They voted year after year. Seems like things don't change.
Yeah.
But we always have to overwhelm the polls with our voting numbers. When we look in the city of Chicago now, 8 of the top 10 voting wards are on the north side. One's on the southwest side, which makes number 9. So our communities aren't rolling out in their voting participation like they should. And after they do, we shouldn't be talking about who is on the front line that have received the most Democratic votes on the Wednesday morning. We should go back to that Sunday when everybody's running through the African American church and talk about the bottom line. We are the base of the party, and we have to get resources to come back to our neighborhood so people can feel the benefits that they have used, that they have acquired, that they voted on. I look forward to bringing back the secretaries of these many different agencies to come to the 1st District. Tomorrow, the Secretary of State will be in the 1st District at the University of Chicago. I'll be in attendance. I look forward to Secretary of Commerce coming back to the 1st District. I look forward to the Secretary of Energy coming back to the 1st District. These representatives in the Biden administration have to show their face and have to show commitments to our districts.
They have to be accountable, and you hold them accountable. I'm going to look out to our viewing audience and say, look, Send in your concerns, your questions. Visit the congressional office at 11750 Southwestern. Go to the website at jonathanjackson.house.gov. Call the office at 773-779-2400. We need to hear from you. And also, we will encourage you to have your grandchildren and your children's children. Everybody needs to vote. If you're not voting, then you don't get a chance to talk trash. Voting is essential. Voting is necessary. And we in the community, we depend on these resources coming back. And we have a say-so. By voting gives us the say-so. By electing our officials, give them the authority and the power and the will to bring these resources back to us. So we are all in this together. We've got a few minutes left, Congressman.
But hold on. But Othello, doesn't this look like a set from Saturday Night Live? I just couldn't resist. This
does.
is like absolutely attractive.
It does.
I wish I had a joke, man, but this is fantastic.
Well, thank you. You're absolutely right. We've got 5 minutes left. So in the 5 minutes, what do you want to say? What do you want to say to our viewing audience out there about what's going on in the first congressional district and what they can look to see and how to best respond? What do you have to say?
Well, I'll tell you that this is the first television interview I've done since I've been elected into the Congress. So I want to thank you very much for this opportunity. I want to thank the workers and the staff here at CAN TV. I'd like to thank you, Othel, for giving me this opportunity. I look forward to coming back, being on this program. The first week while I was there, I was just absolutely in awe and in shock and truly grateful. I shared on the King Day when I was a child, I looked forward to having a badge. I wanted to have some power. But you don't know what the good Lord has in store for you. Mm-hmm. And I got something far beyond my wildest imagination. I never got a badge, but I got a voting card to be a member of the United States Congress. And that means we have a right to determine who has policing power, who gets a badge, who has the right to vote, how can we expand and protect voting. So it's so much bigger than that. And I would tell that to our young people, that you don't know what the future holds, but you know who holds the future. So think big, be imaginative, right. Don't give up. And the takeaway is don't give up, that although things may seem difficult, they're not beyond hope, but you cannot quit, don't stop. And I'm a living testimony. I started in speech therapy, started in what they call extra help, and now I make a living speaking, but ended up in AP, but started off in EH for extra help. Well, and so that's so many people's story.
That's a testament. Make no small plans. The format of this show is for you to get news about what's going on in the first district. And when you're in town, we're going to bring you on. The goal is for us to go around the municipalities and bring in those mayors and bring in those officials so they can share with us what's going on. We've got people that are making 100. We've got veterans that have done all kinds of things, and we want to recognize them and we want to know what's going on. I have to thank my phenomenal, fantastic producer, Stephen L. Carter, a.k.a. Black Butterfly. Without him, I could not do what I do.
Thank you, Steve.
You know, we want to thank CAN TV for allowing us to come back year after year. I've been here for 3 seasons now, but this is our first season here with In the First with the Congressman Jonathan L. Jackson. For the next 12 weeks, we will be here every Thursday. And whenever you're in town, feel free to pop in and give us an update. But in the meantime, we're going to be
a we when I'm in town, and certainly a you, because you're going to anchor this for me, so I appreciate it. So, for example, next Thursday I won't be in town.
Right.
We'll be voting, so.
So I've got somebody else.
I want someone to say, you said you'd be on next week.
No,
okay.
You will not be here every week. What we're going to do is go around the district and bring in various leaders, various chiefs of staffs, officers, mayors, community servants to bring us news about what's going on across this district. I mean, you said it's 60 miles wide, right?
Long, yep.
60 miles long.
And this is news that you can use, and this is the spirit that we want to take to government. We want to open the doors. We want to be accessible. We want you to tell us, inform us what's going on. Othel, I thank you for your leadership, and thank CAN TV, Brother Steve, for this opportunity. This is the highest and best use of cable and networks, and making information accessible. So thank you so much, KNTV.
Well, once again, the congressional office is at 11750 Southwestern Avenue. Our phone number is 773-779-2400. Go to the congressional website, jonathanjackson.house.gov, and let us hear from you. At this point in time, I'm excited. I look forward to next week when we're going to bring you more news that you can use from the 1st District. Thank you again for being with us.
Thank you, sir.
All right, once again, AKA Black Butterfly, Stephen L. Carter, my hero. Until next time, thank you.